What is up, guys? The NFL draft is almost here, and we will finally be able to stop speculating on what these 32 NFL teams are going to do and watch it play out.
Finally.
What I've been noticing in the comments for these mock drafts is that everyone who reads a mock draft is officially qualified as an NFL expert on all 32 teams and what their approach to the draft will be. Also, if there's a rumor out there, it's definitely fact and should be reflected in every mock draft, otherwise the entire mock draft is completely null and void. Well, the draft simulator that everybody's been using this year, Fanspeak, actually has a list of the players that fans have mocked the most to their team. Essentially, this is the list that should represent the people's choice for each team based on who has been picked the most. For those of you that have spent as much time as I have on that thing, you know how addicting it can be, but also how players like Quenton or Bradley Chubb will randomly fall into the late first or even second round. So some of the pairings on this list feel a little unrealistic, but nonetheless, it's interesting to see who or what position the majority of a fan base is thinking their team will draft. Remember, these are not my picks, but I will be sharing my opinion on how the fans have voted for their team's approach in the 2018 NFL draft. If you approve of the player your fan base has voted for, please in the comments below type Mel Kiper needs to retire. Don't forget, he said 8 years ago that if in 8 years Jimmy Clausen was not a successful NFL quarterback, that he would retire. This is at year 8. Bye bye, Mel Kiper. The goal for this video, guys, is 200 likes, so please help me as I'm grinding out these videos for you guys before the draft, and I will continue to make videos after the draft, I promise. Let's get started. Alright, first up we have the Cleveland Browns. I'm going to do the teams that have multiple first round picks together. They have the Cleveland Browns selecting Saquon Barkley at 1 and Bradley Chubb at number 4. I think it's crazy that so many people think the Browns would pass on a quarterback at number 1, but my next mock draft probably has them taking Bradley Chubb at number 4, not only because of the positional value, but also a recent report from Barkley's representatives at Rock Nation stating that they didn't want the Browns to draft Barkley number 1 overall. So if Barkley's group doesn't want him to go number 1 to the Browns, they probably don't want him to go there at number 4 either. At number 2, the Giants fans have selected Baker Mayfield. Now this one is hilarious to me, not because I don't think highly of Mayfield, because I do, but because I think the Giants think way too highly of themselves to draft a guy like Mayfield. Baker Mayfield has definitely got Jets quarterback written all over him, and if this is a mock by the fans, why isn't this pick Saquon Barkley? After all the fans are dying for Saquon Barkley at number 2. Maybe, just maybe, it's because the educated fans doing mock draft simulators all day know that it would be a mistake to pass on a quarterback here, maybe? At number 3, the Jets fans have chosen Josh Rosen, and the Jets would be so lucky if their gamble to move up to number 3 a month before the draft even started landed them Josh Rosen in the end. I think that Rosen could come in day 1 and turn that Jets team into at least the second best team in the AFC East. And at number 5, Broncos fans have chosen Sam Darnold. The fact that Sam Darnold is even available for the Broncos selecting these simulations is a little bit odd to me, but I know the Broncos fans desperately want a quarterback more than anything in this draft. When it comes down to it, I think they're going to be on the outside looking in for these top 3 quarterbacks and will pass on Josh Allen at number 5. At number 6, the Indianapolis Colts fans have selected linebacker Roquan Smith. Roquan Smith would be a key piece in the Colts' transition back to the 4-3. 6 overall seems a little high for an undersized linebacker, but if the Colts want him that badly, they can't risk trading down because the 49ers could take him at number 9. At number 7, Buccaneers fans would like to see safety Derwin James, and I'm not surprised by this one at all. It makes a lot of football sense, and there's a big Florida State and Tampa Bay Buccaneer fan base crossover. At number 8, Bears fans want to see them draft Tremaine Edmunds, and this is one of my favorite draft pairings. Edmunds could be the next Brian Urlacher for the Bears. The Bears' great free agency signings made this a slam dunk if Quenton Nelson isn't available. At number 9, 49ers fans want to see Boston College edge rusher Harold Landry. The 49ers are still finding pieces for their 4-3 transition, and an edge rusher like Harold Landry would be an interesting contrast to the big defensive lineman they have there already. At number 10, Raiders fans want to see Quenton Nelson, and I'm sure a lot of fan bases want to see Quenton Nelson, and if he's available at number 10, the Raiders should be ready to sprint to the podium and select him. It is interesting that the Raiders fans would pick Nelson when they already have some really good guards, but the draft is all about taking the best player available. If you're reaching for need, I would expect them to want to replace Donald Penn instead with one of the top offensive tackles in the draft. At number 11, Dolphins fans want them to select Vita. The Dolphins do have a needed defensive tackle, but I'm not sure this is the spot for Vea. I was hoping Dolphins fans would be on board with my mock and have Lamar Jackson slotted here, but replacing Ndamukong Suh would be a solid place to start for the draft. And here we've got both of the Bills' first round selections. At number 12, they've got Calvin Ridley, and number 22, they've got Lamar Jackson. I gotta say, Calvin Ridley at 12 makes me a little queasy, and it's unreal that people think the Bills shipped out Tyrod Taylor to bring Lamar Jackson in. Personally, I would rather Jackson not go to a cold outdoor team like Buffalo. His mobility won't be nearly as effective in the shitty western New York weather. At number 13, Redskins fans want to see linebacker Tremaine Edmunds drafted. As a Virginia resident myself, I know a lot of Redskins fans that are also Virginia Tech fans, and I'm sure they have dreams of drafting Edmunds. But I think those are only in fact dreams, and Edmunds will be long gone by the time the Redskins are on the clock. At number 14, Packers fans want to see Denzel Ward drafted. If Denzel Ward is available for the Packers, it makes a lot of sense for them, although in all of my mocks, I don't have him making past the Raiders at 10. At number 15, Cardinals fans want to see Mike McGlinchey drafted. Now this is a surprisingly boring option for the Cardinals, but it does make sense. While most fans seem to want Lamar Jackson, when in doubt, you should always build in the trenches. At number 16, Ravens fans want to see Isaiah Wynn drafted. The Ravens seem to always have offensive linemen leaving in free agency, so it makes sense to see people giving them a replacement. I am surprised it's not Calvin Ridley here, but I'm sure Ravens fans are just tired of seeing him mocked to the Ravens in 99.9% of mock drafts. At number 17, Chargers fans are also hoping that their team will draft Vita. This would make the Chargers defense really scary, but there's a few teams ahead of them that could pick him up instead. At number 18, Seahawks fans also want to see Isaiah Wynn drafted, and this pick makes complete sense, but I could see Seahawks trading down if they don't trade Earl Thomas to collect more picks, because they're in dire need of a young influx of talent. At number 19, it looks like Cowboys fans are looking for defensive lineman Harrison Phillips. Now, I have not seen a single mock draft where Harrison Phillips was the pick for the Cowboys. In fact, I feel like I can always tell a lazy mock draft when I see a defensive tackle mocked there, because everybody knows the Cowboys don't place a lot of value in the defensive tackle position, and there's very little chance they take a defensive tackle in the first round that's not named Vita. At number 20, Lions fans have them selecting offensive guard Will Hernandez. I really haven't thought about the Lions addressing the offensive line in the first round, but it does make a lot of sense. I was actually surprised when this was not Darius Geis, but this is the intelligent pick in my opinion. At number 21, Bengals fans want to see cornerback Josh Jackson. Cornerback was not a position I looked at as a need for the Bengals, but you can never have too many, and Adam Jones is probably on his way out sooner than later. And here we have both of the Patriots' first round selections. At 23, they have them going Connor Williams, and at 31, they have them going Harrison Phillips. The Connor Williams pick makes total sense, but another team drafting Harrison Phillips in the first seems strange to me. I love the guy and actually had him in the first in some of my early mock drafts, but after digging deeper, it became apparent to me that he's definitely more of a second round player at best. At number 24, Panthers fans agree with me and think that cornerback Jair Alexander is a great pick here, because I've also mocked Jair Alexander to the Panthers for the last couple of mock drafts. Go check those out when you're done here, and I could see this being a slam dunk on Thursday if he's still on the board. At number 25, Titans fans want to see defensive tackle Daron Payne. And I've always thought that Daron Payne would just go to the Falcons at 26, and that was the earliest fit I could see for him. But the Titans actually do make a ton of sense right before them. I've been so focused on trying to find the Titans an edge rusher early on, but Payne could actually anchor the defensive line and free up some space for everybody else, alleviating that as a need. At 26, Falcons fans are looking at Taven Bryan. If Payne goes right before the Falcons, Taven Bryan does seem like a good fit here. I keep hearing that Bryan is expected to go in the first, but every mock draft I've done ends with him in the early second, so we'll see. At number 27, Saints fans want to see edge rusher Marcus Davenport. Now, I really doubt that Davenport is there for the Saints, but it would be a solid pick for them at 27. But a linebacker or tight end seems like a more realistic pick here. At number 28, Steelers fans are looking at Rashaan Evans. I had this pairing in my first mock, but I think the linebackers are going to go early in this draft, and it's very unlikely that Evans falls all the way to them. At number 29, Jaguars fans want to see them add another weapon for Blake Bortles and tight end Mike Gesicki. I love this pick for the Jaguars. They've killed it in the last two free agency periods, and they have set themselves up really well just to take the best available player. At number 30, Vikings fans have them selecting Will Hernandez. Now this is a great value pick. I think the Vikings can stay put and still fill one of their biggest needs. And at pick number 32, the Super Bowl champ Eagles select running back Derrius Guice. In my latest mock, I jumped on board with the idea of the Eagles taking a running back at 32, but I still believe the 5th-year option that you get from a first-round pick makes this an ideal trade-down spot. You guys may have noticed that these players that I'm about to show were excluded from this list, but these are first-round players from my last mock draft, and they would shock me if they didn't find their way into the first round. I was really surprised at Minkah Fitzpatrick, and not as surprised by others like Josh Allen. But when it comes down to it, I think that all of these players will be selected on April 26th at the 2018 NFL Draft. That'll do it for this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed a different approach to a mock draft than just my crazy ideas every time. You guys crushed it on my last mock and were able to overlook some errors I made on the graphics.
I'm sorry, I fudged up, guys.
So I will definitely be bringing you my final mock draft before the NFL Draft on Thursday. If you listened this far into the video, please type at the bottom "mock drafts are life" in the comments below so I know who is the crazy draft nerds out there like myself. Remember, we're trying to hit 200 likes on this video. I appreciate you guys. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.